I want to demonstrate something that I talked about in a previous tutorial while we were discussing the voice and layer panel, as well as the instrument panel and the Humanize functionality. So I'm going to simulate a snare drum roll, and currently I have the Near Z custom snare drum selected within the core avatar library of Superior Drummer. With the arpeggiator dial turned all the way up, if I start at a low velocity and go all the way up to a high velocity and back, it simulates the sound of a snare drum roll. You can hear for the most part everything sounds realistic. However, as I get up to those louder velocities, you start to hear a little bit of a machine gun effect. And that has to do with our ear normally associating drum rolls with lower velocities. It's not very often that you would play, for example, a double stroke roll or a buzz roll at very, very loud volumes, just because it's very difficult to execute at loud volumes. Now, with regard to the voice and layer functionality, the MHE or multiple hit emulation dial, and the Humanize functions that we've discussed in other tutorials, by manipulating these settings, you can take a listen to how Superior Drummer alters the samples in a way to make them sound more realistic. Let's first disable some of these features so that we can hear what the samples would sound like without them enabled. Let's take a listen one more time to this velocity gradient with the Near Z snare drum as is. And now let's go ahead and disable all of the Humanize features. Turn the layer limits all the way down to 1. And we'll turn the voice limit down to 1. So you'll notice with each one of those changes, we're losing a bit of that realism of the sound of an actual drum roll, regardless of the quality of the samples. Without those features of Superior Drummer to manipulate which samples are chosen, how they're layered, the grouping of the sample pools, and how many samples can be played at the same time, then we start to really get an unrealistic machine gun effect. Now, if we turn everything back to the way it was, in fact, I'm going to open up the sample pool library a bit more. So what I'm doing here is I raise the voice limit to 10. I set the layer limits to unlimited for this particular drum. And we're going to turn the Humanize features back on. Now let's take a listen once again. And it sounds much more realistic. But we can go further than that. If we utilize this MHE setting, or the multiple hit simulation, on a snare drum, we'll turn it up all the way for this example. We can get more of a buzz roll type of a sound rather than, say, a double stroke roll. Now again, keep in mind as I go up to those higher velocities, it's still going to sound a bit odd just because we're not used to hearing a roll played at the loudest velocity possible. But again, this MHE setting makes a difference and just adds another creative possibility if you're doing a lot of rolls on a snare drum and you want to make it just a little bit more seamless, a little bit more like a buzz roll. This gives you that feature. So this once again is without. And with. And that's it for this tutorial video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.